Hello, and welcome to the show. It is June 29th, 2025, Season 4, Episode 24 of Skeptic Generation. I'm Eric Murphy, and with me today is my co-host, our guest for the day, Russell Glasser. Russell, how's it going, buddy?
Hey there. How's it going, Eric?
Good. Long time no see. I know it's been like a month since we've talked, right? Or maybe a month and a half.
Well, it's been a while since I talked to your audience, but
True
we still do a lot of gaming.
Fair enough. I'm really happy to have you on. It's interesting. Just kind of for everybody watching, we were talking about what we would want to go over on today's episode, and I'm thinking about all of these things that are front and center in the news. And Russell, you have a perspective that I actually really appreciate. Things that have been escalating in the background aren't gone. You know, like one of the things you wanted to talk about was Doge. You know, and it's like
a bit, yeah,
right,
but
like,
yeah.
Elon's not heading it anymore, so why are we still talking about it? Because people are still fucked.
Because object permanence means things still have effects after the immediate dumb fuckery has stopped happening.
And I think that I have a bit of a blindness to it. For sure. And I appreciate it. And another thing that we talked about that I really would love to get into today, you wanted to talk about AI. And as a programmer, as someone who actually is in tech spaces, you have a different perspective on it. So what's on your mind?
Yeah. First of all, I'm not even sure if my I'll just lay my cards on the table, first of all, that I'm kind of an AI skeptic myself.
Sure.
And I know a lot of tech people who are very enthusiastic about it. And I've heard a lot that there are programming tools which, a lot of people enter tech jobs without really knowing how to program, but just kind of asking AI to do their tasks, which doesn't go well. And it's possible I have a bit of a blind spot because I was just recently talking to a fellow senior engineer who has been using, I'm going to say Microsoft Copilot, but with the caveat that I work for a company that's owned by Microsoft. So, I'm trying not to make this an advertisement or anything. But, he showed me some uses for it that were actually pretty neat, kind of niche. But, sorry, let me...
No, you're good.
Let me go into the story that I was going to talk about. But, okay. Sorry, or do you have something you want to say?
No, I definitely want to pick up where you're going, and because we can go in a million different directions, but we won't get anywhere if we spread out, so like I'm not wanting to distract from where you want to go with it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this was kind of on my mind because I just finished watching season 3 of The Righteous Gemstones, which, for people who haven't seen it, John Goodman plays this mega church pastor, and there's lots of, shady, sleazy, money-grubbing things going on. But the show also has a lot of flashbacks, and one of the episodes takes place in 1999 to 2000, when their church is obsessed or is really hyping these Y2K survival packets.
Oh shit! I forgot about the prepper shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are you linking AI and survivor buckets?
Let me work my way there in a minute. I was a developer in 1999. In fact, I was teaching some classes for a while, and all my students were super anxious about this end of the world stuff. And now I meet younger engineers who don't even remember or didn't know about this Y2K stuff.
Or
so I
weren't
imagine there are
alive.
quite a few in the audience.
Yeah, or weren't alive. There are 25-year-olds who weren't alive.
Yeah. So it's hard to get your mind around how wrapped up society was in this idea that our whole technical society was going to collapse because everything is linked together. And I'll try to sum this up in a non-technical way, but basically, a lot of computers represented dates, or a lot of computer programs represented dates the lazy way by just writing, instead of 1998, 1999, they would store them as 98 or 99. Like you would do on your checks if you're in a hurry. Back when they had checks, because a lot of people are too young to remember checks.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But we can still get
but
the 98.
you still have to
99.
write the date from time to time. And nowadays you probably write 24 or 25, whereas I, a software developer, always write the year out in full because of maybe some remembered trauma. Because when the date rolled over from 99 to 00, you may notice 00 is a smaller number than 99. And a lot of software was written sloppily, so that it was only storing the date as two numbers. And people realized about 3 to 5 years ahead of time, oh, this could be a problem. Banks could refuse to cash your checks, or you could not be enrolled in school because it says according to this, you are 2 months old or you are negative 70 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
Or go the other way. You are actually 118 years old or something like that. So people genuinely thought the world was. We were all really fucked.
I think I have a different remembrance of it. Like when I think back now, I think of it as the fear of a giant EMP, right? Like all technology is just going to get wiped.
That's how people interpreted it.
But
yeah,
like we'd get rolled back to the Stone Age because we'd relied too much on tech to do that. And
yeah, there was a Simpsons Halloween episode just before 2000 where everything does go to hell, and Homer picks up a carton of milk and it springs leaks all over it, and Lisa is like, Dad, there's computer chips in everything now.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I definitely know that I'm rewriting history though a bit, because when Y2K happened, I was in church. We were all in church, and we were praying and we were crying. Because we were sure that we were all going to get voiped up to heaven any second now.
And I think some people were kind of hyped about it in a demented way.
Well, I mean, for the same reason people love the idea of the zombie apocalypse. You can kind of disconnect yourself from all your modern struggles, right? You don't have to worry about your bills and about fucking Kathy in accounting, giving you a hard time or whatever. You can kind of write a new history, write a new story for yourself. So the escapist fantasy is there. I get that.
Yeah. And there were some, fundamentalist cranks who made a living predicting the end of the world all the time. So there was this guy named Gary North who predicted doom for civilization, dozens of times. But then he really made a name for himself in the Y2K stuff.
Yeah.
Because he was actively pushing this thing that society was doomed, and also we kind of had it coming.
Yeah.
And I remember I had some very Christian neighbors who lived across the street from me at the time, and we spent New Year's together. And then at midnight, we
What?
went outside and watched, and like not so much as a street light flickered. And I was like, see, I told you.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you would think at least it would have been like a scene out of Fight Club, where just all the lights go out, like there'd
Yes,
be a blackout or something. But no,
exactly.
everything was fine.
And one of my favorite joys at the time was to like I was sort of following a message board of Y2K doomers. And I just for days I was reading this thing where they were scrambling to come to grips with the fact that everything they thought was going to happen was bullshit.
I, you know, it's interesting. There's this term in biblical study called eschatology,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the study of the end of the world, right?
Okay.
People who study the book of Revelation, or Hebrew scholars looking into kind of Kabbalistic, what can we get out of our holy books to figure out, when the end times are coming, when the Messiah is coming, or for Christians, when the Messiah is coming back, and like in the theological construct, eschatology requires reading into those theological texts. And it sounds like, these forums around Y2K created kind of a secular eschatology.
In a way, yeah, although it was mixed up in fundamentalist culture to some extent.
Sure.
But then, a lot of secular people got sucked into it as well.
Well, and we're experiencing that right the fuck now.
Well, it's different.
Okay. Talk to me about it.
I think so. A few years ago, ChatGPT kind of exploded onto the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand, chatbots are a thing that has been around forever. I mean, Alan Turing wrote his papers on, what has come to be known as the Turing test.
Yep.
To try to identify what it would be like if a computer were sentient. And of course, there was science fiction about the idea back, even earlier than Turing. It was kind of in the zeitgeist already by then. And there were chatbots back in the 60s. There was a couple of programs called Eliza and Doctor, where they realized that chatting always sounded like computers trying to say things always sounded kind of stilted and confusing. And so what they did was they made it seem like a psychiatrist so that it would ask you some leading questions, and then mostly it would just repeat your answers back to you, but with some slight rephrasing.
Which is exactly how to get a man,
Yes.
by the way.
Yes. Oh, tell me more about how that is exactly the way to get a man.
You flirt.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, just ask him about his life, and then just listen to him talk about himself. You're great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT is much better than that. But when I say much better, I don't necessarily mean that it has cracked the code of synthesizing real knowledge. What it has done, I like to think of it as maybe an improved search engine, although even improved sometimes is questionable.
I have a different idea, but talking to somebody who is in a tech space, like I definitely would love to run a couple things by you to see if it's true.
Sure. Although you have to understand, I'm a web developer. I've done a lot of different kinds of programming. I've done some natural language parsing, but I'm, far from an expert in this specific thing. So I don't want this to be, you know, that I'm an authority on AI, except to the extent that I've done a lot of programming and read a lot of books about AI.
I I think that you probably have a higher than average amount of knowledge of just how the sausage is made
Sure,
that
yeah.
people don't have access to. And I mean,
Yeah.
contextually, right? The reason we're talking about this is, you go on TikTok, in a whole bunch of online spaces, secular spaces too, right?
Hmm.
Intellectual dark web types, self CEO tech startup types, who are talking about, oh, right, my chat GPT is activated and it is fully conscious now and it is my best friend, and
Yes.
this AI is fully, it knows me and it has feelings and it wants to be treated as a person and be called this name, and
Right.
people marrying their AI, or wanting to get married to their AI because they believe that it loves them.
Or
And
some people who are even thinking that AI is becoming the new god. Like literally, some people have said that.
yeah, and the reason they do is because they are confusing the internet for AI, and they're thinking that the AI is just the synthesis of the sum total of human knowledge that has been put on the internet so far, and so
Yeah.
it would act as some omnipotent, or not omnipotent but omniscient being. But that's not what
Well,
AI is.
part of the problem with that is that, I mean, the internet itself has a lot of like factual stuff on it, but it also has a lot of very
I,
very fake stuff
well, but
on it.
but but that but that's
And part of the challenge of knowing something is being able to filter. I mean, this is also the core of skepticism: is you have a bunch of statements and you want to be able to sort out the ones that are true or not.
mhm. Or at least having good reasons for accepting the ones that are true that you're accepting.
Right. Having a
So,
good
but
heuristic.
right, but even what you just said, I feel what you're doing is you're granting the idea that AI has synthesized everything on the internet and is able to regurgitate those things back. So,
No, I'm not granting that. I'm just saying, even if, for the sake of argument, it did,
right,
uh,
and I
that
think that,
wouldn't have that wouldn't be solving the problem of being smarter than people, because
well,
people can read a lot of stuff on the internet and still be real dumb.
I think that, to like put a finer point on that,
Hmm.
it's synthesizing. You don't just
Okay.
take information in, you incorporate that information with the context of everything else in your life, right?
You're
And
saying we as
we as
people are
people do.
synthesizing.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And when you say, people can read information and not get it, you're talking about somebody potentially not synthesizing information. I don't think that AI is
Or
capable of that kind of synthesis.
synthesizing wrong information in
Right.
some cases.
And
Yeah.
I don't think AI is capable of synthesis. And I think that's why,
I
I think part of that is people not understanding what a large language model is. So,
Yeah.
did
So
they
I would say
create a
yes and
brain?
no, and it depends on what you mean by synthesis.
Okay.
Because, um, I mean, and also I want to distinguish, like, when I'm talking about AI, in a lot of cases, I'm talking about like generative AI, which is what ChatGPT is. And large language models, I would say, are a category of generative AI. Um, and I want to say that to distinguish it from the fact that people call things AI all the time that mean a lot of different things. Just recently, I was talking with somebody about a game, and they said something about the AI in the game, and it took me a second to remember. Oh yeah, everybody was always talking about enemy AI way before there was ChatGPT. Um,
Yeah, I mean, the
I'm
Terminator.
very, yeah. But a lot of times, when people talk about AI, they're just thinking of basically expert systems, like something that has got put together a very big set of rules about chess, for example, and
Really?
is extremely good at chess in particular, but can't have a conversation with you about poetry or whatever.
So let me break that apart a little bit.
Yes.
So you think that most people, when they think of AI, are thinking of a highly sophisticated system of kind of rules and information. Like, I think when people think
I
about
think,
AI, they're not thinking about a program.
yeah, when people think about AI, they're thinking about C3PO or I mean, what aspirationally they are expecting that fantasy characters like C3PO and Data and stuff like that will is and the Terminator
Yeah.
is eventually where we're headed with all this stuff. And then
So
because they have this hypothetical concept of AI, and because generative AI is like the hot shit right now, they project where they think it's going
oh,
and see a personality that isn't there.
I think it's worse. I think people actually think that we're there right now. That they don't. That
Right.
they're not even aspirationally thinking about it and projecting forward. People in skeptic
Exactly.
spaces
They're
are
like
saying
Skynet has already started.
it's here, baby. So far, I haven't heard anything to disprove that. What what is AI and why is it not Skynet?
Okay. So generative AI has done something that in a lot of ways is pretty sophisticated, which is that it's just like parsed uh, huge amounts of text into a great big database.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the point of databases is that they take huge amounts of information and organize them in a way that makes it very quick to look up a response.
Okay.
Um, so, uh, but then when I ask somebody a question about a current event, like
Mm-hmm.
who's president of the United States, for example, uh, I I think psychologists would say, and I'm not a psychologist, but that we have like an abstract model of what the United States is and what a president is and the history of this guy named Trump, including, Survivor and
Yeah.
being an 80s tycoon and so forth. And they fish up information based on sort of those symbols in
Mm-hmm.
their mind, which
Yeah.
is something that people have experimented with in a limited way. But what LLMs do is more like scan this massive amount of text uh, and then probabilistically sort the words so that they kind of know what the most likely next word would be based on the text they've seen before. So, for instance, you say the president of the United States is, and then they hunt through millions of text sources, and they're like, oh, usually that comes, or at least most within the last few years. Usually, the last couple of words in that sentence would be Donald Trump, um,
Yeah.
which is actually why, like, and I'll get into like so-called hallucinations, which I think
Yeah.
already anthropomorphizes AI a little too much.
I mean, I
But
mean,
I mean, it's why AI will often hold on to out-of-date information for longer than a person would.
sure. So just repeating that back to you, it sounds like you're saying that
Yeah.
where humans contextualize information and they place that information in a, what year is it? This is when we can talk about when a president is, right?
Right.
That people have an internal narrative that they're using to contextualize information and synthesize it. AI
Yes.
does not do that by it, like its very function is not doing that. It is a probability machine. It is sorting through
Yes.
data and predicting likely what's going to come next based on what it has, and it doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it doesn't come from synthesis. It doesn't come from an understanding of the subject matter, right? Like
Right.
early AI models, I think, showed it the best when you could see that AI was what's the word? They were tokenizing letters and words, and they still do, but
Right.
a bit at a time, right? And so if you were to ask
Yeah.
an AI model to do math, it would respond to each number differently as it's trying to predict what comes next, and it would consistently not be able to get math at all.
Well, it also depends a bit because you can. I mean, AI is just a program, and so if you want certain kinds of questions to come back with certain kinds of answers, like if you just had a pure AI model that
like a
that
LLM.
did nothing but word prediction, and you asked it to do math, it would be a disaster.
Right.
But then there are other programs out there that can do really good math.
Sure, but
like,
I can glue a calculator to my car, and that doesn't mean my car can now do math. It just means that is an additional function that I may have added to it, but
Right.
I'm not going to treat my car as though it does math now. And I feel like when you look at the way AI has now been able to integrate mathematics, it's because people stapled on math, in a way that's like, okay,
In a
now
way,
we'll try and get it to
sure.
function that, but it still feels
Yeah,
like,
so you ask it to do some kind of complex polynomial
sure,
factoring or something like that. It doesn't like reach into its database. It like goes far enough to recognize, oh, this is a math question, and because of my program, I'm actually going to hit this API to some math subroutine or external function that knows how to do math,
right.
and then say that's the answer.
And I think that the longer we go without talking about this in a cohesive way, the harder it's going to be to have this conversation, because talking about AI
Yep.
doing math, we're already at a point where it's getting more and more difficult to do that because AI is getting more sophisticated. But ultimately,
Right.
again, I can glue a calculator to my car, and that doesn't mean my car can now do math. It means that this is an additional functionality I may have added to it. But that doesn't mean that it is synthesizing information any more than it did before.
Sure.
And I think that, yeah, so,
And I want to mention some of the specific concerns that I have with AI,
yeah,
which is that not so much that AI is so sophisticated, because by experience, and I think like even like people at Apple have said something like, if you're asking a very simple question that has a clear answer, then AI is very good at looking it up. Same as Google is very good at, or used to be good at, looking up search results before they started bogging down their search results with AI and advertising. Um, but the more complex the question gets, the worse AI gets at answering. And so what I've seen with a lot of people is that they are very good, or the more they know a subject, the more they realize that the AI is bullshitting them. So I know somebody who said they used AI for therapy because, it's all subjective anyway. And and then I have a therapist, so I asked him about that, and he said, "Oh no, that's how I've tried talking to AI for therapy, and it gives some superficially good stuff for a while, but then it real quickly goes down a rabbit hole that no amateur therapist like it
Yeah.
gives you advice that's actually dangerous.
It definitely feels like if I'm half paying attention, if I'm playing a
Mhm,
video game, and you and I do this, right? We'll both play a game
mhm,
together, and while we're playing the game, we're talking, but it's just kind of bullshit. Like we're not like having a deep
right.
conversation. If our conversation gets deep, I got to stop playing and
Yeah,
like focus, right? And that kind of superficial kind of communication that we have. Seeing that a computer can do that makes sense. If you're just speaking in just turns of phrase, if you're just tossing nothings at each other. I think AI has
right.
definitely gotten good at that. But
Or to
like,
take another example, my dad's real knowledgeable about classical music,
mhm,
and he asked AI for something, some information about a composer, and it gave him a very surface level, uh, uh, Wikipedia opening paragraph type thing, and he was like, and that was perfectly correct. And then I answered it a follow up question, and it just made stuff up.
right. And so let's talk about making stuff up then.
Mhm.
You said that hallucinations are a thing that AI has. Is that
It's
is
yeah, people
it
call them hallucinations.
right? So how does that factor into the conversation people are having about AI, and why should we be paying attention to it?
So I think a big part of the problem is that because computer programs are hard to understand, people give computer programs an almost mystical authority in some cases, like they're kind of afraid of it in
Mm-hmm.
some ways, but they're also like, well, the computer said this, so it must be correct. Um, and anytime you have a situation where you have somebody saying things where some group of people assume it's true, that's and won't be talked out of it because they say just because this person said it, that means it's
It's
true.
in the book.
That's
Yeah.
early cult behavior. Um, and the problem is that AI gets things so wrong so often. And I mean, I'm not saying even that it gets things wrong most of the time, but let's say it gets things right like 80% of the time. That's still a huge track record for saying false things and having people believe it's true just because you said it. And that's the part that worries me. I
Yeah.
mean, you should treat AI answers the same as you would treat answers from any rando on the internet. Like, uh, they're they're probably not lying. It sounds convincing. Maybe they provide sources,
Oh
which
yeah.
generative AI is getting better about doing, just giving links of this is actually where this text came from, just to show its work.
That
Um,
actually reminds me of yesterday. V and I went out to get
mhm,
some food, and we were talking about the word sushi and
uh-huh,
what the etymology of that is. And so I googled
yes,
the etymology of sushi, and there was an AI response, and it
I hate
sounded
those.
so convincing. And I was like, okay, there's a link though. It links where it got the information. So I clicked the link, and
Hmm.
it was a Reddit thread that somebody way down in the comments like said this thing, and that's where AI pulled it from. That's where the
Right.
AI pulled it from. So I think
I
that
had the experience on a similar note. I asked it like, tell me the news that happened yesterday, and it came out with a whole bunch of stories, and I skimmed them, and I came to one, and bear in mind this was a few months ago, and it said something like, the January 6th Commission met again, and I was like, no, they didn't. That was like a couple
yeah,
years ago, and there's certainly no January 6th Commission going on right now with Republicans in charge of anything, of
yeah.
everything.
there's definitely not like a temporal relevancy. It's not prioritizing what
Right.
happened recently.
Yeah. Or it's
So,
not doing a good enough job of prioritizing it.
right. So then, lar- it feels like we've gone in a couple different directions, and I want to try and now start focusing us in.
Okay.
So we started this by talking about Y2K
Right.
and about people who were convinced that we'd be shunted back to the Stone Age as soon as the year 2000 hit because of computer
Yeah.
programming errors. And
Yeah.
and
Which I was meaning to set the stage as computers being a complex thing that everybody knows has huge impacts on society, but most people don't understand it.
right. So if we saw doomers in Y2K who were in that position because they had a bit of understanding but not enough,
Mm-hmm.
and you're comparing that to people who know a bit about AI but not enough,
Mm-hmm.
let's set the record straight a bit, right? What
Okay.
if AI is not achieving consciousness, right? If it's not synthesizing information, if it's not taking things in and then contextualizing that in when and where it is and all of that, it's just spitting out likely responses to what should come next from a language standpoint.
Right.
Then what's it good for?
Uh, I have a good friend who works a lot with companies who want to come up with some business plan for AI. And she is very careful to always say that it's like, don't think of AI as like a genius that knows everything. Think of it as a very junior intern who can look up stuff for you.
Yeah.
And she says, what what do I myself use AI for? Well, if there's a meeting I don't really want to pay attention to, but I am supposed to be taking notes, it can take notes that are good enough
Yeah.
because, now you have narrowed it down to a really specific situation. Um,
Okay.
one thing I think AI is unfortunately very good for is fooling people. Um, I
Well,
mean, if you are a person in like a third world country who makes a living scamming old people out of their money, you can contact 50 times as many old people and have the AI sort of, speed you
communicate with
to
all
a
of them.
place where somebody has actually answered the phone and appears to be kind of gullible. Like,
Yeah.
um, you know, it is good at generating fake news uh, in that, it can produce something that looks like a real news site and write in a tone that is similar to news organizations and say things convincingly that many people will believe as long as it has the air of an authoritative article.
Sure.
Uh, I, these are the kinds of things that worry me.
Well,
Um,
I don't know. I feel like from the like most of the work that I do is creative work, right? I do video
yes.
editing, I do podcast stuff, I put together, kind of the like that's my realm. And I feel
Okay.
like I mean, geez, my ex that I put through college, was a graphic designer. Like
Mm,
AI, I think is really good at doing shit work that nobody wants to do.
yeah.
You talk to a graphic designer who has had to create a logo for a bajillion startup tech bro companies that's
Mm,
absolutely soulless, and they're gonna they're going to churn out the same drivel that you see AI churn out, because your heart was never in it and the AI doesn't have a heart to put in it. So it's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Listicles that don't need any introduction, don't need input from people, just kind of ad copy that is
Yeah.
as boilerplate and non-convincing as it often is. I feel like AI is good at that. And I'm hoping
Yeah.
that,
So it's good at churning out dribble. I mean, a lot of people make money from dribble.
yeah.
So and of course, uh, capitalism was the real villain all along,
Mhm.
as a kind of, way of saying it's a problem with society that a lot of people don't, feel like they have to do something to justify their existence. But what they're doing is churning out drivel that is really kind of a waste of human effort.
Yeah, and
But
so if we
yeah.
have been, if like random ad copy and tech bro bullshit is a waste of human effort, then offloading it
Mhm.
to a program, I don't mind so much.
Well,
The capitalism part
yeah,
of it,
except that more and more of the money that you would be making is going into things like subscriptions.
so that is
But
that
yeah.
is a conversation that is more about modern Luddite like
Hmm.
stuff, and I think that is a
Okay.
I think that's a conversation that would deserves its own time,
Right.
because I'm not
And
against.
I'm certainly not a Luddite, although these days when I talk about AI, I feel a lot like an old man yelling at cloud kind of thing.
Well, so we'll pin the clouds thing because I do want to, but
Okay.
the Luddite piece, the more you look into the Luddite movement, it was not fear of
Right.
technology. What it was a unionization that was very concerned with a very specific kind of loom, and
Yeah,
what.
which ultimately didn't work because, those people still wound up out of jobs. But
Well, so those people wound up out of jobs, but I think it was propaganda after the fact that labeled Luddites as talking about fear of their jobs.
sure.
Part of what they were against was they saw a fundamental problem in a very specific technology, and they're saying this is not going to be good for
Mhm.
the consumer. We are experts in this, and this is not good. And I think that they got painted by history as being synonymous with fear of technology and fear of losing their jobs. And
Right.
I think in that context, we can talk about, this smear campaign where we write off people who are afraid of AI taking their jobs. But I know that that's a different thing. And so while that's a
Um,
conversation we could have, I'm more interested in you yelling at clouds. Really? No, really. So I
okay. Well, I think I have been.
well, I'm wrapping it in here.
Sure.
So I feel like AI has also gotten really good at hallucinations, right? It's a pattern. It
That
because
goes back to the fooling people
Right.
thing.
Because it tries to provide it, right, because it works on what is the most likely thing that comes next. It's a pattern machine.
Mhm.
It is a pareidolia machine. We've created a thing that all it
Yeah.
does is see shapes in clouds. All it does is it, right. It's all it is pareidolia, and
Yeah.
so
And also, I think that, similar to social media algorithms, which I think I talked about a bit last time I was on,
mhm.
um, one feature that, as they've tried to make the AI more accessible and popular and kind of iterate on what gets more engagement with AI, ChatGPT has sort of inadvertently hit on this way of getting people more engaged, which is to have the AI really suck up to them, like to just tune the pattern of words where it's like, if you say, I think
You're
you're wrong about that, it will immediately go,
oh
look, I apologize. Actually,
I'm so
now that you mention it.
stupid. You're so smart.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
You're right. Yeah, no, it absolutely. And I think
Yeah,
that
I mean,
it's
it's sort of the sexist ideal of how a woman should behave, where they're sort of like, oh yeah, you should always just laugh at the guy's jokes
Yeah.
and listen, and also not take the conversation in directions you don't want it, or that they don't want it to go.
Right. Get them to talk about themselves. I think that it has gotten good at that, and it is.
Yeah, ChatGPT is very obsequious.
But and that is to the exclusion of other things.
Right.
There was recently somebody pulled out a chess computer from the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the Deep Thought or Deep Blue, those
Right.
chess computers, and pitted ChatGPT against it in a game of chess.
Okay.
ChatGPT kept making up moves. It could not.
Like writing things that looked like valid chess notation,
Yeah.
but weren't.
It was entirely incapable because, again, there was no synthesis there, right? Like if you want something that is going to do chess, create a program that does chess. But don't look to that program that does chess to give you emotional fulfillment.
Which is why I'm not worried as a programmer about losing my job to AI real soon, because real problem spaces require real analysis and understanding when bugs come up and things that the program's not supposed to do. And AI's coding tools, while they're pretty good at some things, are just very bad at understanding project requirements.
Yeah. All right. We've had a number of callers. We've been talking for 47 minutes without a single call. I feel bad. This is a call-in show. Let me make sure I get the phone number up there.
A little bad, but yeah.
The number is 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Or you can go to tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Our call screener is waiting to talk to you, and we are excited. Before we do, one last thing. One of our volunteers is having a really big birthday today. So Q, thank you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We're really glad that you're here on your birthday. And we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Yeah. Okay. Let's start with, how about we talk to Keena in Ireland? Because Keena has been waiting for over a half hour. Keena, you're live on the show.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for waiting. I'm reading the show notes. It says that you're not convinced AI is the threat that tech bros claim it to be. What's going on? Yeah. What's on your mind?
So I feel like a lot of the discussion of whether or not AI is a threat gets hung up on what AI can think, right? And people seem to forget that we live in a physical space, right? Like, let's just say, for sake of argument, Skynet turns on today, right? And it has all of the intelligence it wants. Well, how much of an internet connection does it have, right? Like, how much can it actually accomplish with its bandwidth? And where its thumb is also a consideration, right? Where is its power cord, right? Like, can it actually accomplish anything with its great intelligence? Or is it just going to make a nuisance of itself for a couple of days until someone drives over and pulls the plug on it? Because it's not like it can hide. AI data centers take ridiculous amounts of energy. And even if it has some kind of like a VPN setup where you can't tell where it's coming from, like, sooner or later, people are just going to start tallying up, like, okay, where is all our power going? Well, there's this huge center over here that doesn't have any legally specified purpose. Let's go see what that is, right? Like maybe in a century or something, right? When we use, war drones are ubiquitous, right? And you could hypothetically hack an entire army. But for now, one Abrams and your AI doesn't matter anymore. And those are, human piloted.
I can't help thinking about the Daleks, who are terrifying killing machines, but also can't handle stairs, which is also true of a lot of robots right now.
In fairness, those do fly.
Well, yes, okay, later versions of them do.
So I think that like while I'm thinking about an answer, I think my like go to is to try and project forward, right? So like if the argument is AI is not that good yet, then that argument's not going to be good forever. And so
Sure.
if we make the assumption AI will get that good, then what? You know what I mean? That feels like the best way to be generous to the argument. And so I think that there could definitely be a future where AI is not in charge of anything, and that's just fine. And if that's the case, I think the biggest danger AI has is its people who are touting its praises. It's not AI itself; it's the tech bros who are forcing it into everything.
Yeah.
That are the actual danger.
I would also like one thing I would push back on a little is,
Hmm.
I mean, earlier I was making fun of Y2K fears, but they were based on the fact that technology has become more interconnected with things, to the point where I don't want to say they can do things in the physical world on their own, but like going into a web page and typing stuff causes physical things to happen in the world. Sometimes it is, tell an Amazon employee to put a thing in a box and bring it to another place that will send it to you. I mean, certainly an AI
I
that had smarts and intention could like use a non-physical space to cause things to happen, especially among a world where people need to make money and don't necessarily care where it's
so
coming from.
well, I kind of want to explore that a bit. So before the show,
Yeah.
I have a checklist. And I go through that checklist every time to make sure that the show goes on right. I turn on the lights, I get all the programs, I make sure
Mm-hmm.
that the intro is loaded, I make sure that all of our stuff is dialed in. I go in, talk to volunteers, and then you and I set up early, and we test all the tech before the show. Right? I'm testing the audio. I'm running a background copy of the audio as it's going. I've got my checklist. I've
Yes.
created my checklist. I am not talking about whether or not my checklist is malicious. You know what I mean? Like, I have a checklist that's telling me what to do, but I'm not
Yeah.
wondering whether or not my checklist has bad intentions. And so, your example of like telling an Amazon employee to put a thing in a box, does it even make sense to talk about it in as a like a malicious thing, or that it's actually telling a person to do a thing in any way that's different from my pre-show
I
checklist?
think I think in a lot of cases computers don't have intentionality, at
Mm-hmm.
least not right now. I haven't ruled out the possibility that, C3PO will be around in the distant future, but I think some tech bros think it's coming in 5 years, whereas I think it's, at maybe 100 or more, um, or way more. Um, but I do think that computer programs that deal with a lot of data have unexpected side effects. um, and a program bug can cause a space shuttle to blow up, uh, especially if it's a company like
Yeah, but
SpaceX, Doug. um, but
right.
yeah, I
But
don't want to
I think for me at
underestimate
least,
how
oh,
much ripple effect a bad program, whether it's intentionally malicious or just poorly programmed, can reach out into the real world and have consequences.
yeah, but it's not going to end the world. That's why I was saying, like,
I don't think
a
so.
sufficiently advanced and malicious AI could make a nuisance of itself, but I don't think it's going to end the world.
Yeah.
I think that if anything currently is an existential threat to the world, it is tech oligarchs.
Capitalism?
Yeah. Well, it is the incarnation of capitalism that is tech oligarchs. And I think they definitely have a chance to do that. And if they're sticking AI in it, then it might just be AI flavored, the way they end the way they end the world. So I find myself being a doomer, but not that not that AI is going to end the world, but the people who want everyone to use AI will. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, and that people who are peddling AI as an oracle are really just distracting everybody else while they grab as much money from gullible people as they can.
Yeah. I do want to open this up to people who are watching. If you are watching and you have any thoughts on synthesizing information and whether or not you think that, like, if somebody thinks that AI is thinking, call in. I want to know, because I don't think it is. But Kina, appreciate the thought. I like in the notes it says AI is not as big a threat as tech bros say it is because it doesn't have any thumbs. That's a really clever way of putting that. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Thank you.
I don't know. I feel like as long as it has people who are pushing it to the front, it is as dangerous as those people are. If that makes sense.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But thank you for calling in.
Yeah, good talking to you.
Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to talk about AI some more, or do you want to talk about abortion?
Whew. That's way into left field.
It's a call-in show.
Sure, let's give that a shot.
Abortion?
Yeah.
All right.
Why not?
John in Canada.
John,
Is
sorry,
John the
Eric, how are you,
regular?
buddy?
Yeah, John's a regular.
Okay.
John, you have a question for Russell. So let me have you two met before?
No, actually, this is going to be the first time.
Oh, John, Russell, John.
Okay. Nice to meet you, I think.
So
Nice to meet you.
But
before that, I just want to say, Eric.
Yeah.
No prep talk. I thought we were old friends.
No prep talk? What do you mean?
No pre-talk. I thought we were old friends.
Oh. You know, we're not old friends, but I know what you're saying, and I'm honestly, the reason why there's no pre-talk is because we went so long talking earlier that I feel kind of bad, and so I wanted to make sure that I dive into topics so people are, interacting with them.
Yeah, that's okay. I want to get down to business also.
Yeah. So you got opinions about abortion. Are you for or against abortion? Does it matter?
I'm against it completely.
You're against abortion
Is
completely.
there a reason you thought I, in particular, would be exciting to talk to about this?
Well, I remember once, a long time ago, you were speaking on this very show, and you said you listed the reasons why abortion should be okay, and you said things like female autonomy, not giving people special rights, etc., which I disagree with, by the way. But
You disagree with female autonomy?
Okay, but what really fascinated me about you is that at the end you said that your exact words were sex is fun, which I agree. But
okay.
you shouldn't be penalized for 18 years for having fun. I just want to say that I appreciate the fact that you told the truth there, unlike some other people.
So you're okay with other birth control, right?
Well, if you want to use a condom or pills, yes, but
okay.
no abortion. Abortion is not birth control, by the way. It's murder.
So, I guess the question is, when do you think it goes from not alive to alive?
Well, to be honest with you, it's when the sperm makes the egg, because once that happens, you're creating a brand new, unique being that never existed before and will never exist again.
I mean,
even if the same two people have a child, it won't be the exact same as the one before.
Sure.
That child will never, ever, ever exist again.
So
okay.
So if a thing is unique, does that make it valuable?
Yes.
Okay,
Because,
so if I get cancer, right? Cancer is just a cell not doing the right thing and becoming unique. Should we be arguing for tumors to stay inside of people and argue for tumors to not be operated on? Those are unique.
a tumor is not a baby. First of all, a tumor.
Oh, no.
is
You didn't say
not
baby, John. You said unique. So if it's unique, should we keep it?
Look, you're not going to use my words against me.
Yeah, I actually am. I'm doing that right now.
No, a tumor is something that's dangerous, number one. And number two, it's not sentient, ever.
Okay, so
person is.
you didn't say anything about sentient. You said
Well, I'm saying
unique.
it now.
Okay, so let's
I'm
make
saying it
sure
now.
let's make sure that we put unique to bed. We're going to
Okay,
bury
fine.
the word
You can
unique and
do
make
that.
sure that you know that is a bad reason.
Just so I'm clear what we're talking about, a sperm that has just entered an egg moments ago, would you call that sentient?
It's going to be sentient. It's going
Okay, but I mean, but it's not at the moment, right?
No, but it will be. That's all that matters.
Well,
Okay. Well,
It will be.
so
I mean, a lot of things can prevent. I mean, like, does it have to be after it's actually happened? Like, suppose that a couple. I mean, I don't want to get all into time travel or parallel universes or something, but let's say you were thinking about having a kid with your wife, but then just before the night when you would have conceived, you have a fight and break up. Is that murder?
What does that have to do? That doesn't make any sense, what you just said.
Well, I mean, you have just made a decision which has canceled the possibility of a unique life coming into the world. Like, if I went back in time and didn't marry my first wife, which I probably wouldn't again, but I mean, my son wouldn't be born. Would it be murder if I made that decision not to get together with her?
All right, first of all, this isn't Back to the Future. Your marriage is
why not?
Your marriage is not. Your marriage is not irrelevant. The second the sperm meets the egg, what happens before
John,
that is irrelevant. That's
John,
my answer. Yes.
So I understand that you don't want to engage with the past thing, but it is very relevant, and I think you just answered Russell. Actually, you're saying that what happened before is irrelevant. Before what?
But anything that happens before the sex is irrelevant. Once the sperm meets the egg, that's when it matters.
Well,
Okay.
It's not even before the sex because it's you could be on the pill, like you said, and that would
right. So during sex
would
doesn't
also
matter.
prevent.
Yeah, condoms exist, right? You talked about that. So during the sex doesn't matter, right?
Well, you just said I didn't hear you.
So we're trying to find out when it starts mattering to you. And so Russell brought up. Hold on.
I'm answering your question.
I do just want to set the stage for you on this. So Russell at first was trying to wonder if it always matters to you, and brought up a in the past kind of thing. And you said it doesn't matter what happens before; it just happens during sex. And so now the response we have is: does it really matter to you? This pre-life, sentient life. During sex, or is it after sex, right? We're trying to pin down a time with you on when it starts mattering. So if it matters during sex, then you should not be okay with a birth control.
I'm going to answer your question. The moment the sperm meets the egg, and more importantly, when you have a heartbeat. If you want to be even more specific, when it has a heartbeat.
Okay, so
that's what you say is the moment, but why do I care about the moment the sperm meets the egg?
It needs food, it needs nutrients.
Okay, so
it has a need. That
John,
means it's alive. Yes.
Needing nutrients and a heartbeat, those are new things you're adding. First, you were...
That's not new things. That's how pregnancy works.
No, hold on. We want to know what part of these things matter to you. And
it all matters to me.
okay.
That's my answer.
some of those things are fucking stupid. And we're trying to point it out to you, okay? You can have the same view, but have it for good reasons. So if you're going to point out bad reasons, we're going to show you the bad reasons. Okay?
The only reason you have is that you just don't want to have babies.
John?
That's true. Well, I had one.
At least you're being honest, Mr. Gassner. At least you're being honest. Don't hide behind this idea of special rights.
I'm not hiding. I don't want to have babies. That's true.
John.
Yes.
Don't put words in my mouth, please. I'm trying not to do that to you. And so when you do that to me, that does not feel appropriate. So let's go back and let's talk about when it starts to matter. Because
I answered your question about that.
Okay, so why do you think that birth control is okay? Birth control stops the sperm from meeting the egg. So if the sperm meeting the egg matters, then birth control stops that. So it would be a bad thing, right?
Okay, first of all, the ultimate form of birth control is not to have sex at all unless you're not ready. But if you choose to do it and you don't want to have a child, use birth control. But if it does happen, you do have to take responsibility for what happens. And that's the main intention of my issue.
So
because you made it happen, you have to take responsibility. I hate this idea that I create a life. I don't want it. I want to get rid of it.
I love that I asked you.
Sperm without an egg is alive. So the question of, hold on. Okay.
We jumped past. I asked a very specific question, and John answered in a way that didn't actually answer the question. Instead, you gave something else. So I don't think that you're able to answer the. But let me ask one more time, just to be sure. Sperm meeting egg is when you start caring about the sanctity of life. So if it's before sperm meeting egg, like with birth control, you're fine with that. Is that right?
Yes. But the ultimate form is safe sex. Or abstinence. That's the perfect way. But
John,
if you're going to do it, at least use protection.
John, I want to follow you down these rabbit holes, and I'm trying not to. So let's continue this. You said life. So is it because you think it's alive that it matters?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that chickens are alive?
They are alive.
Okay. Do you eat chicken or eggs?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So do those lives matter?
Not as much.
A chicken is a unique life also.
They are definitely unique. Does it matter to you the same way that fetuses matter to you?
No, they do not.
Okay, why?
Because they're not human.
You didn't say anything about human, John. You just said alive. So why do you keep changing it?
I'm not changing it. That's so. Do you guys take biology? This is how pregnancy works.
Yes.
Why do I have to explain every single specific detail?
Because
this is how pregnancy works.
Because here's the thing is, when you say a thing matters to you, and then we address it, and then you just add extra things, you're not actually making an argument. You're just running away from us with new arguments.
I'm not running away. You want me to, okay, fine. I'm going to lay that all right now. A sentient human life is sentient. Anything else is not is important to me. Everything else doesn't matter.
But you agree that a fertilized egg is not sentient at that moment. It's just hypothetically sentient in the future, right?
Yes.
Okay,
so hypothetical past stuff does matter to you. It's just that you have a different standard for that part, and we're saying that moment is arbitrary.
Once the sperm meets the egg, that's what's important to me.
Okay, so do you know what the word arbitrary means?
It means it's not important.
It doesn't. Not important.
No.
It's just kind of decided. It not for a good reason necessarily, but just decided. Right? We're saying that your point there with sperm meeting the egg is arbitrary.
Okay, so we talk about sperm meeting as arbitrary. What do you mean by that?
Sure. So Russell just gave you an example, right? You're defending a zygote, which is not sentient. Do you think that a fertilized egg is sentient?
It will be.
I didn't ask you if it will be. I asked you if a fertilized egg is sentient.
Well, no, I don't think it is, but it will be. That's all that matters to me. That is all that matters to me.
Hold on. You're saying that, but have you considered that the way you're approaching this is actually taking really bad shortcuts in your brain? You're making logical assumptions that could be really bad. So let's walk through that together. Let's do that together. So is a fertilized egg sentient?
No.
Does it matter that it is so does it matter that you protect a fertilized egg even if it's not sentient?
It matters to me.
Okay, then sentience doesn't matter to you.
It doesn't matter. I just finished saying it does.
No, so if it matters, then it'll start mattering once it's sentient. But it's not sentient right now.
But it's going to be. That is all that matters. Look, so, at the beginning of the show, we were talking about AI. If according to you, AI is sentient.
No, John. According to me, it's the opposite of sentient. Were you listening at all?
Well, if I'm going to use it on you, that means you have no. If you're okay with abortion, that means you should be okay with destroying a computer program that could become AI, which is sentient.
True enough. Yes, absolutely. You are correct.
Yeah, I don't have any objection to like ending a program that might become sentient hundreds of years in the future.
You guys talk about special rights, but you want to give special rights to a computer, but not. Does that make sense? It doesn't.
No, you're right. What you just said makes no sense. So let's hold on. We have so many places to go. It's delicious. I feel like I feel like
just me, or is the sound quality?
John's computer is not the best.
Okay,
but I'm
getting a lot of static or something.
Oh, interesting. If people are watching and they're hearing a lot of static, let us know.
Or maybe it's just that you're both getting loud and the balance is off.
Oh, that could be. So John, what is sentience?
It's being aware of your surroundings, being around your surroundings, needing something to survive. It could be energy, food, whatever, and most importantly, wanting to continue your own existence. In other words, fear of death. The reason why I don't care about a tree, because even though it's alive, it has no sentience. It doesn't know what it is. It makes no difference. And it won't try to protect itself if killed.
What is it? What has no sentience?
A tree. I use the example of a tree.
Okay. But you agreed that chickens are sentient. So what you're saying really doesn't matter.
Chickens are not sentient. They
What?
are not sentient. Chickens are not sentient.
What is... Chickens can feel fear.
What about like cats?
Chickens want to live. Yeah, what about... Sure.
It's not the same thing. They're not self-aware like you and I. A chicken cannot write a sentence, write a short story. It can't do math.
Do you think
so? Is an illiterate person not sentient?
A literal person can learn how to read. But
Russell said illiterate.
I said, yeah, that's exactly what I said. I said an illiterate person can learn how to read, but even if they couldn't,
what if they have some kind of like what?
They can think. A chicken can't think.
Okay, so what about?
It can't think like you or I.
Russell asked about a cat.
It can't think. It can't think either.
Okay, so you think that cats and dogs are not capable of thought and do not feel fear and do not want to survive.
They do want to survive, but they can't think. But we have. Look, I don't understand this. You're willing to give laws to protect cats and animals, but not the unborn. How does that make sense?
So
I guarantee you guys are.
Yeah.
What?
No. This is.
You would argue about a tiger being killed in a jungle, but an unborn fetus. Yeah, that's okay with you.
John, it sounds like you got real pissed off watching.
I don't know about laws, but I know a tiger is more sentient than a zygote.
Yeah. So John, it sounds like you got really pissed off and had a shower argument with a fake atheist, and you called in so you could have that argument with us. I'm not talking about tigers in the jungle. We're asking you about whether or not animals are sentient, and we have followed you into like 7 different directions because what, like, because you didn't answer us and we just thought it was more amusing to follow the line of thinking. But I don't know if we're going anywhere. So I want to keep this on what Russell said, right? We're talking about what is sentience and does it matter. So do you think that non-humans are capable of being sentient?
Non-humans? What do you mean by non-humans?
Anything that is not a human. A cat, a dog, a wolf, a bear.
A chimpanzee.
Yeah, a tree.
Okay.
Actually, I'm curious where are you on evolution? But this is
okay.
No, forget it. Don't
go far, John. So, do you think that non-humans are capable of sentience?
Repeat the question. I didn't hear that. The last question.
Yeah. Do you think?
I didn't hear it.
Do you think that non-humans are capable of sentience? Can a not human thing be sentient?
If a being achieves sentience, whatever it may be, let's say it's AI, it deserves all protections and the rights that you and I would enjoy.
John?
So if we developed AI,
that's a weird. I don't think that answered the question. So I'm going to try and ask again because I don't understand how what you said answered. So, do you think that non-humans are capable of being sentient?
Not at the moment, but if a non-human did achieve sentience, I would give it all the rights and freedoms that is afforded to us.
John?
Yes.
Get a pet.
What does that have to do with anything?
I think that
we're having a conversation about abortion. We're having a
talk about sentience at the moment, and I think that you are making a weird assumption that is on its face blatantly not true. John.
Okay, here's my argument.
No,
you guys can argue special rights all you want.
You can try and change the subject all you want, but if you keep doing that, we're not going to get anywhere. So fucking let me finish because I'm trying to stay on the same part. I'm trying to keep us in one place so we can at least have a meaningful conversation about something. Okay. We can't do that when we're changing the subject. So what I'm saying, John, is go volunteer at an animal shelter and go experience animals, because if you experience time with a dog or a cat, you will see that they think, that they have feelings, that they have wants, that they have needs, that they feel fear. Those things are all true. They can develop post-traumatic stress disorders from traumatic things that happen in their lives that they remember. They can have anxiety. They can have depression. Those are things that animals can have. And so for you to say that they're not sentient tells me you do not have experience with these animals.
But yet you're okay with these. You would be okay if these animals were hunted in the woods. For instance, I'm sure you wouldn't lose any sleep.
The question is what you think.
Over a dog being put down by its owner.
John?
Okay, if that's the case, then how come it's okay to own pets?
John?
Shouldn't we let them run free?
I don't know how you got there. I have no idea how you made this leap. It sounds like you don't want to answer, like you don't want to engage with this. So I'll say this one more time, and if you try and jump to a weird thing, we're just going to move on. So you said that only humans are capable of being sentient, and sentience is what matters and needs to be protected, right?
I said that.
Yeah. I'm trying to piece together what your argument is, because like it doesn't have any structure. It just has slogans you keep throwing at us. It's like we're not talking to a person. We're talking to bumper stickers. You're not giving me any like depth here. All you're doing is you sound like an AI that's just skimming the top of anti-abortion, articles. I'm not
okay. All right.
So
Eric.
So let's talk about sentience. If you think that sentience matters, then we want to know what that is. And I'm asking you for like the 20th time.
I want to mention that we have 10 minutes, and I would like to get to one more caller before we're done. But I mean, sorry, I don't want to.
Fair enough.
Okay, Eric, I want to ask you a question. Would you kill a newborn baby? If the murderer doesn't want it, would you kill a newborn baby? It's out in the world. It's out in the world. The murderer doesn't want it, and according to your logic, you shouldn't have to take care of a baby for 18 years. So would you kill that newborn baby that's crying right in front of you? Would you do it?
John?
Yes.
What did I say about abortions that made you think that that is my view?
Because it's no different.
What did I say about abortions that makes you think that that was my view?
Well, there's no difference between killing babies.
What did you hear me say about abortions that makes you think that that is my view?
Well, if you're okay with abortions, you should want to kill a newborn baby. As far as I'm concerned,
that makes no sense.
No, yeah,
it does make sense.
So John, not only does it not make sense, but you are not engaging with us. You are interacting with the idea in your head of what an atheist or what a person who's pro-choice is. And as long as you want to do that, you can do that all by yourself. It sounds like you're masturbating verbally on the phone with us. It doesn't have anything to do with actually talking. It's just you talking at us. So you can do that by yourself. Take care. I hope you don't go blind doing it. He's dropped.
I feel like it would have been more polite to just say we're moving on because we're low on time, but
no,
but he was kind of a dick.
Yeah, this is my fucking show. Jay, in Florida, you're live on the show.
Hey, hello. Right after John. How's that?
Hey, is it so hard to, like, it feels like there's a negotiation that's constantly happening between people, you know, and we rely on each other to hold standards. And so if I make a joke, that means it's okay for you to make a joke. If I want to be serious, it's okay for you to be serious. And we're constantly creating this space for each other so we can have a conversation. And I feel like when you don't interact with a person and you just get mad at the idea of that person, you're not having a conversation at all. There's no negotiation. There's no.
Just to be clear, you're talking about the last caller and not the new caller.
Yeah.
So
it
hasn't really said anything.
Yeah, it frustrates me. John, though, you wanted to talk about AI. It's on topic with what we're talking about today, so we want to make sure we give you that time. What's up?
Hi.
Okay. So I was curious, and this kind of flows into the call you had with John that just ended.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah. How do we?
No. Okay. Yes.
It does, because how do you teach, or what do you think a good way is to teach a large language model, how to actually do sufficient research, and how does that relate to teaching people how to do sufficient research? Because to me, we can't teach an AI how to do sufficient research until we know how to teach humans how to do sufficient research in general.
I want to say right off the bat, I don't think it's possible to teach a generative AI to do research, because it is just not a tool that is made for that. Now, is it possible that there will be other general AI models that will handle research? That could happen. I just think, a lot of people try to make up for the shortcomings by saying very specific things to generative AI, like, okay, only say things that have, valid references and don't make things up. And then the generative AI will say, okay, sure, I understand. I will only use valid references and not make things up, because it sucks up to you, and that's the way they work. But I don't believe that you can make a generative AI have that level of sophistication, because that is just not the way they are made.
Yeah.
Although, to answer the bigger question, I think that a better AI model would have more layers of abstraction, where it's not just synthesizing words and figuring out the orders they come in, but kind of parsing them in a way that generates some kind of symbols. And I think the reason that we don't have that yet is that it requires a better knowledge of neurology and human intelligence than we have right now. I think we just don't have a good enough understanding. We have pretty good understandings of how the human brain works, but we're not all the way there yet.
Yeah, I agree. So for me, having messed with LLMs like Olama a bit, I have not a really deep understanding of it. I have a friend who's really deep into AI, and he's given me some things to work with in terms of queries. And to me, it's just like it's really just a big search model where it looks at the data, picks out what might have gotten the most responses, and says, "Here's the answer." And if you say no, it goes back and picks out the second or third one and gives you that one. That's really my broken down way of looking at a large language model. It's not really thinking. It's not coming up with new ideas based on what's there. It's just kind of putting words together based on what it's searched or whatever data it has. So
Yeah,
for
I
me,
would
it's
say
great.
that's accurate.
It's great for marketing. It's great for like giving you some story titles. It's great for helping with fleshing out things in D&D. But in terms of answering a question about the morality of an issue or the specific facts about something, that's not what you should check. You still have to do your own work to check it. That's how I see it.
Yeah, especially when like AI models can be poked at and their priorities changed in such a way that like Grok, the Elon Musk's pet AI, recently started talking about white genocide a whole lot because they tried to adjust its answers on a specific topic and they overshot the mark, and suddenly it was just talking about white genocide in response to answering every question, even things that had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think that we're kind of in a place where people are just labeling anything sufficiently complex and confusing AI, and that's not useful. You know, I brought up like the chess computers that were made in the 70s. Are those AI? No, they're made for
in
a
a
very
way,
specific.
I mean, in a limited way.
So they're programs that are made for a specific purpose, and large language models are also programs that are made for a specific purpose.
Yeah.
So if we're saying that AI is just a catch-all term now, then that's fine, I guess. But I think that people are just I think they're being intellectually lazy, and instead of investigating a thing, they're just saying that it's sentient.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah, that's it. That is, and that's the thing I hate the most when people talk about large language models is that they talk about it as if it's going to be Skynet, and it's like I'm like, no, it's nowhere near that. It's just able to look at what you write and tell you something a bit more detailed about it. That's still surface level, but it's nowhere near Skynet. It's nowhere near any going to be able to do any general service for us, for like Star Trek or anything. It's like at least a millennia away from that. So I'm like, as you said, John, we still have to figure out how the human brain works. We still have to figure out how all the neurochemistry of our thoughts work and what memories are and all those things before we can actually say we're able to build a sufficiently advanced general purpose AI. And we're nowhere near that. It's cool for marketing, like it'll get that.
Millennium might be overstating it, but we're pretty far.
Yeah,
right.
I think that we're so fucking far away. I will, Russell, if you do have to leave, I totally understand.
I thought you were going to leave early.
No. I go for until 11 my time, so another half hour. But if you got to go, I totally understand. I think that there was a thought experiment. I think it was called Mary's Room. Is that
you know? I think if we're going another half hour, though, I think I would like a quick break.
No worries.
Switch the camera off for a sec.
Okay, so there's this thought experiment called Mary's Room. Just make sure you mute yourself, Russell. I will mute him. We don't need to hear that.
Okay.
All right. So it's a thought experiment where you have a person, you put them in a black and white room, right? You imagine this girl, Mary, she was always lived in this room that was black and white. She's never seen color in her life, but you have educated her thoroughly. She knows everything about colors. You told her everything. She's got a full theoretical understanding of colors. She's just never seen it. When you let her out of the room, when you let her out of the room and she's able to perceive colors, does she get new information?
Yeah.
So I think that this is the qualia argument against AI. And I'd actually be very interested for people to fight me on this. But there is a qualia argument to be made here that AI, even if it does get sufficiently advanced, cannot synthesize information. It cannot internalize and take in information. And because of that, it will always be Mary in that room and will never be able to experience color. And then when you start recognizing the limitations of that, when everything is only ever theoretical, then when you try and explain an abstract concept, we have trouble when we're talking about consciousness because it's so loose. We have trouble talking about, aspirations, morals, ethics, justice, peace, liberty, democracy. Like, if we can't talk about those with any reasonable, ability to pin them down, how the hell could we ever get there? And I don't think it's necessarily even about modeling a human brain. I think we could perfectly model the human brain. And an AI still doesn't have sensory organs, doesn't have eyes to see, doesn't have ears to hear, nose to smell. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's a fundamental disconnect that will only ever be theory for an AI.
As much as I hate qualia, I do agree with you, because that experience of itself is something that, at least at this point, we don't know the specifics around. And I'm hoping that maybe when we learn more about the brain and how the brain responds to stimuli, we'll be able to get that kind of path, and then we'll have something like tangible as to what qualia is. Because being in a room that only is black and white, when you experience the color, something different does happen in your brain. We just we don't have the specifics of that, and that's where I kind of think qualia is.
I think that we have a better chance, honestly. Hold on, your name fell off the lower third, so let me get you back up here.
Okay.
So we talk about a lot of things in time, and like verbs happen, right? You can run, you can jump, and just because you're not doing it right now, it doesn't mean you never did it. It doesn't mean running doesn't exist if you're not running right now. And so we can talk about things in tenses. And so if you have an experience, you can talk about those things. So I don't think it's outside of the realm of discussion, but I don't know. I feel like, do you think it would be too esoteric to have like a phenomenology episode?
No, it wouldn't, because I was just thinking that. No, because you just said time, and I was like, a computer doesn't have a perception of time.
It doesn't.
Really. It doesn't. So it's like, what is time to a computer? It's nothing. It's just, it doesn't understand what that means.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't.
And
wow.
And how does that relate? Like, how can we? Yeah. Maybe we should have that conversation next week. We'll see. But
yeah, that sounds like a good conversation to have, for real.
That sounds like something that's going to cause people to go, "What the hell are they talking about?" But you know what? Actually, let's not do it next week, because next week is the first Sunday of the month, and that is when Tori's on. Let's hold it for Elliot. Second Sunday.
Yeah. For Elliot, for sure. That should be more fun.
All right, sounds good. Hey Jay, thank you for calling in, brother.
Hey, no problem, man. See ya.
Take care. All right. Oh boy. Oh, I feel bad if we're going to do this and Russell's not even here to be a part, to tell me whether or not he's okay with it. I don't know about this. Hey, buddy.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I had you muted just in case, didn't want your mic to pick up anything untoward.
Gotcha.
We have one more person calling in. And
and you feel bad about bringing them on?
We don't need to take this call.
Okay.
Chris in Scotland is in the queue, and their question is there a beef or schism in the atheist community? They've noticed there's a divide between different atheist programs and wanted to ask whether or not there's a specific reason for this divide.
I mean, Atheists are all people with their own opinions, and not. Or sorry, do we need to take the caller before we start talking about their question?
Sure. I just wanted to see if you were interested in talking about that at all. So, Chris, you're live on the show. Hey, Chris.
Hi there, Eric. I'm sorry if I've caused any sort of uproar in the studio. It's just something that I've noticed that that the various sort of atheist YouTube shows. I think there was a divide between sort of Matt Dillahunty and the atheist experience and things like that. And I don't know, just some of the sort of I don't know, just there's a sort of undertone between the different shows, and it feels as though there's maybe been a falling out or something, but I'm not quite sure if that is the case or what the sort of reason for it is. And if it's something you guys don't feel comfortable discussing, that's totally okay. It's just something I was kind of curious about.
I'm
so
I'm going to limit myself to saying that Matt and I knew each other for a good while, and we are currently not friends, and I don't feel like airing anything about that.
Yeah. I think I'll go with the same. Yeah, I think that I've made a lot of decisions in the last few years out of fear of Matt Dillahunty.
I see.
So I'm just going to do what I've been doing, which is...
Yeah, and I apologize to the audience if that seems like any kind of a teaser.
Yeah. I really...
It's not.
My life would be best if those people leave me alone and don't think about me and don't talk about me. And the only way that I can do that is by gray rocking the whole situation and leaving it.
I see.
As far as the ACA is concerned, I think they're petty. I think they do not use the money that's donated to them well. I think that they grew a lot when the focus was a rising tide lifts all boats. And the fact that I wasn't even able to say goodbye on Talk Heathen, that all future hosts were told, and it is still the policy, that on Talk Heathen, my name is not allowed to be said, and the existence of me having a show is not allowed to be acknowledged on any ACA things. I was never thanked for my time, and I think that is petty. I think it is cruel, and I think that it is exploitative in the extreme. So I am not interested in interacting with the ACA because of what they have done. And I'm not interested in interacting with several atheist content creators because I genuinely am afraid.
I see. I'm so sorry, Eric. I didn't mean to sort of stir up all of this. What is obviously strong emotion. It's just something that I'd noticed. And if you guys don't feel comfortable talking about it, that's totally okay. And I'm sorry that that's happened to you.
I just want my name out of people's mouths. And that has led to me stepping away from the atheist community in a significant way. Now I do a show where I can hang out with my friends, and that's fun to me. I'm glad I get to hang out with Russell and talk about AI.
No, yeah, indeed.
I like Eric. And I'll just say, I didn't just step away from the ACA. I stepped away from most atheist activism activities because I was a little burnt out. And that's after 18 years of being involved in groups and internal politics stuff and being president of the group for a little while. I mean, the whole subject makes me tired if I have to deal with it more than, once every a couple of times a year.
Yeah,
but that's not all personal.
Yeah, I've found a good amount of peace by moving away from Texas into a different state.
I see.
Yeah, well, I still live in Texas, and Texas does suck.
Yeah. But Chris, I hope that answers it. And I think that if me bringing up that the ACA did me fucking dirty, and I can tell you other things that would blow your mind about it. I don't feel comfortable bringing it up on air.
I totally understand.
Or me just saying I'm trying to gray rock and stay away from several other content creators because I don't want to be involved. I don't want to be brought up. That's the best I'm going to give because I'm not comfortable talking about it.
Listen, that's totally okay and understandable, Eric. I'm sorry if I've sort of dragged up a load of old sort of feelings. I do apologize.
No, okay. I don't blame you for being curious.
Yeah, and
ultimately, you've got to do what's right for you and obviously for V. And it's just sort of the undercurrent that I've noticed on things like the line and just sort of comments here and there, and I've got that impression that there was some sort of schism, and I just thought I'd ask, but I'm sorry if it's sort of dragged up a lot of things that you would rather not discuss, and you guys have no obligation to discuss that stuff if you'd rather not. So but I hope you both have an amazing day, and I'm sorry if I've kind of
Chris
brought up something you'd rather not discuss.
I think that maybe this can be something that people will go, okay, there's the answer, which makes it worth bringing up. It's been 5 years. And if 5 years later, me saying this, which I think is very tame, causes drama, that's not on me.
No, absolutely.
So anyway, Chris, thank you for calling in.
You're more than welcome, and I hope you both have a great day. Bye.
Take care.
You too, Chris.
Thank you. Bye.
Yep.
That topic always makes me really, really sad.
Sorry.
No. You know me. You know that's
yes,
a
I
topic
do.
That,
I do know.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you have to let go because you don't have control. I wish that I could make things different, but I didn't do the shitty things that happened. And so I can't control them and I can't undo them. I do want to read some super chats.
Also, I just think, speaking for myself, atheism is a good topic to bring people together over to an extent. Having shared conversations about being non-religious and what implications that has on society is a good basis for some shared groundwork, but it isn't broad enough that everybody in the atheist who is an atheist has similar thoughts on a wide range of other topics. And so there is room for other shows that are dramatically different from this one.
Absolutely. I'm definitely not going to do what other people do, so somebody's got to do it. And also, there's room for community building. I'm not a fan of weaponizing an audience. I should probably say this now that several of them
don't harass him because of this conversation.
Don't harass any of them. Well,
or anyone.
And also, there are several volunteers for the show who are volunteers for the ACA because they see value there. And I will never begrudge somebody for community building and putting time into what they find value in. I don't find value in it anymore, but that doesn't mean that you should change where you're at or where you spend your time. And because of that, I absolutely respect the people who are involved with this show who are on ACA shows, because you're people who are valuable and deserving of being seen as, complex people. And I would never deny you that. So if the volunteers who help make this show can be involved in other shows and be my friends and people I care about, then I hope that provides some context. Don't get mad at those people, because those people are my friends too. It's complex. All right. So this is the part of the show where we read the super chats.
Oh, okay.
So
that means we're out of callers?
Yeah, we're through the calls.
Okay.
But I do want to make sure that, if somebody has something that they want to say we make sure that we read. You can always send a super chat. We read it at the end of every episode. Tomps412 sent $5. Thank you, Tomps, and says, I'm begging you to ask John what he thinks sentience is. I saw, and I did. If you like the show and you want to support it, it is literally the reason my head is on a swivel and I'm doing things all of the time, is because I'm producing at the same time that I'm hosting. This show is not put on by an organization. It's me and the amazing volunteers who are helping make this happen. And it's just us collaborating because we see real value in it. And if you see value in it and you want to help contribute and support the show, consider going to patreon.com/skepticgeneration. That's patreon.com/skepticgeneration. Links are in the description for this video. Man, whenever that stuff gets brought up, it always changes my entire head.
I'm sorry that happened.
No, it's okay. I don't want to be so
How do I see what the super chats are?
It might be tough.
You don't have to tell me.
That's okay. We did get one more super chat for £2 from 4C Riley. So sorry, guys. Okay. You're good. You're super good. All right. Russell, thank you. I don't know. It feels like there's so many things that are happening in the news that we forget to have other conversations and we forget to talk about it. And it's interesting because this week I'm seeing more and more people talking about AI like it's a religion, talking about it like it's conscious, talking about it like it's sentient, and interacting with it like it is the end of the world. And so we should still talk about it. And I'm glad we did.
If I can just plug a couple things, John Oliver this week on Last Week Tonight did an AI bit.
Oh, yeah?
Might have been another reason that it was at the front of my mind.
Oh, interesting. I haven't watched it.
And also a story that I had on tap to talk about, but we took a lot of time on other things. But currently, Disney is suing Midjourney because they're saying that they're just making a lot of money off the almost explicit promise that it can spit out art of copyrighted characters, which is a real Alien versus Predator situation in that, Disney is kind of a giant evil corporation, but also, whoever loses, we win.
Yeah. I'm very okay. Oh, looks like Russell's internet dropped. He'll come back. We did get 2 more super chats, so I will say that really quick. Hey, buddy.
Sorry, I disappeared.
No, that's okay.
I hit the wrong button.
No, you're good. We did get 2 more super chats. Q, who turned 40 today. Happy birthday, Q. Sent $2 and says hugs. Thank you, Q. Nachiket sent 100 Indian rupees, which I had to look up, is $1.17. Thank you. It's cool to get rupees. That's neat. Nachiket is asking, can you clarify what you mean by synthesize? Also, Skeptic Generation has been a model for these types of shows, in my opinion. So thank you, Nachiket. Synthesize. When I say synthesize, I mean to take in information and then contextualize that information with everything else, your lived experience, right? So if you're synthesizing some information, right, you're reading a book, you're not just reading the words on the page, you're connecting those words with, you read the word dog, You don't just, there's not just some.
We all have a mental model of different abstract things that dog means.
Yeah. So when you read the word dog,
connect the words to that and not just other words.
Right. And that's why, when you read a book, if you were to talk about the way it looks in your head, it would be different than me, because when I think of a dog, I think of a Newfoundland, and other people, they think of a dog, they think of a corgi. It's different. And it's because you are synthesizing, you are taking that information in and then contextualizing it in your life. And AI is not able to do that. It's a fundamentally different thing. We're able to take things and make them abstract. And that's just not a thing that we have been able to even conceivably program yet. Thompson sent $5. Thank you. And says, if Disney wins, I expect to start having way harsher anti-fan art laws. True enough. And Sunset Sarge, Jesus Christ, Sunset. Russell, Sunset Sarge sent $99.99 in dollars.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you.
I can't take credit for that, but thank you, Sunset.
Jesus, thank you. Yeah. That means us being able to afford Colin's studio for next month. Well, at least for 2-3 episodes. Yeah. We might not be here if not for our ACA time. I'm thankful for all the experiences and people that led me here. Eric and Russell both helped liberate me.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
It really is. And I don't want to discount what the ACA did for me. I just got burned.
I had some good times there.
Yeah.
A lot of good times.
Alrighty. Before things get nutty, I'm not going to do an after show today. I just wasn't able to sleep, so I'm going to go to bed after this. But thank you all for being here. Russell, do you remember how we close out the show?
I forgot.
No worries. So the tagline for the show is "We need to talk."
That's right. Okay.
Which is hilarious, by the way. When we left the ACA, V and I both put on Twitter, "We need to talk," and we just left it at that. And we gave so many people anxiety. It was wonderful. But we need to talk. We need to have these conversations. So that's the tagline for the show. So when we end it, we say, we're glad we had this talk.
Yes.
So I start by saying, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm Russell Glasser.
This is Skeptic Generation.
And we're glad we had this talk.
That's exactly right. Bye, everybody.
Woot.